Hey, can you come here a second?
Yeah. What's up?
What'd you do that for?
What to get here faster?
That was stupid.
What's up, everybody? John McClain here, and thank you for tuning in to episode 6 of Making a Class. Now, in this episode, what we're talking about is footwork. Now, what do I mean by footwork? I'm specifically talking about one piece, which is the drop step. Now, I have some video to show you a little bit of a mix of when it is appropriate to do a drop step and when you're probably losing time by using the drop step. And when you're gonna lose time, you'll notice that it's normally when you do the drop step every single time you start a movement versus using your body momentum or preloading your lower body so that when it comes time to move, the first step is forward and not backward. So let's break into these videos real quick, and then from there, we'll go into a little bit more detail about why it's inappropriate to use it all the time and when exactly is it appropriate to use. Now, as you can see in those videos, you can be losing a lot of time, on average about 0.3 of a second based on those examples, every time you do a drop step. So let's talk a little bit about when it's appropriate and when it's not. The appropriate time to do a drop step is going to be most of the time when you're at a complete and static standstill and you need to get into an explosive position or you need to have an explosive movement out of that position. Most of the time that happens at the start of stages. You know, you're straddling a start stick, your feet are on X's or something like that. It's just, personally, even for me, it's hard to get a good first step forward in those kind of positions for whatever reason. So, on the start of a stage, you will typically see me do some sort of a drop step. Now, keep in mind that those drop steps are not normally a full foot backwards before I start forward. Rather, it's kind of just a way to get some leverage and get some pressure on the balls of my foot that I'm dropping, just to get a little bit of a push, okay? The other time it's appropriate to do a drop step is if you're kind of falling out of a shooting position to explode in the opposite direction. As you saw in the video there, I'm doing a hard lean to the left to then fall out of the shooting area and get an explosive release out of that position to get to my next one. Now, what's important to note about that is how wide apart my feet are. You don't want to have a very wide stance if this is something that you're going to try and execute on a stage, because in that position, your legs are going to be angled like this. Well, if you start a drop step out of the shooting area, you now have one leg that is almost hindering the direction that you want to go. It's stopping the energy versus the other leg trying to drive the energy to where you want to go. So what's important to know about when you're doing a drop step out of a shooting area is that you kind of have your feet somewhat close together, knees bent, so that as you fall out, you don't have to overcome such a hard angle with that foot that is still inside the shooting area And rather, if anything, you can almost start to use the momentum shift to then get both of your legs underneath you to explode out of that position. The reason why most people have a drop step every single time they do a movement is just because they haven't developed the muscle techniques and the footwork to really understand how to get the body moving in a direction. And basically what I want you to do is think about this. As you're in these shooting positions, you want to be in a good athletic stance. You want to have your knees bent, your feet somewhat kind of apart. Typically, you'll have one foot in front of the other, and that's kind of how we start that explosive position. So we're already in a position to where we have our legs preloaded, and all we have to do is push to get that going. So it takes a little time and practice just to learn what it feels like to be in that shooting position, and then when we're ready to leave, to just take the first step forward instead of taking a step back to then move forward. So if we can eliminate that quick step back to start forward by just stepping forward, that's where we're ending up to save 0.3 of a second every time we do that. So based on the 10-round, 300-round, the 300-round, 10-stage imaginary match that we've been using, let's take that into consideration, and let's say maybe every stage has two positions that we're having to leave and move out of. So at 0.3 of a second, we're looking at 0.6 of a second per stage, which over 10 stages is 6 seconds. So again, we're adding up all this little time. If you've ever wondered why the top guys are beating you by 30, 40, 50 seconds, it's not because they're shooting faster than you. They are just moving more efficiently than you. Whether or not they're moving the gun, whether or not they're moving the trigger, whether or not they're moving their feet, that's where they're gaining time on you. And that's why they can still shoot as many points as they do and still seem fast. So, thank you so much for tuning in again. This is episode 6. And if you like this information, please like, share, subscribe, comment. Let me know if you have any questions or anything that you would like to see me cover, and I will definitely try to get around to it. Thank you so much again for tuning in, and I look forward to airing the next episode of Making A Class with me, John McClain.